Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Flow and Restore Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. In today's quite hip opening practice, please start in auspicious pose. Find your 2 blocks, a strap, a pillow, a blanket, especially things that you might use for the second portion of this class where we'll be in yin and restorative postures. So auspicious pose is abducting the thighs, which takes them away from the midline of the body, and externally rotating or turning out the thighs at the hips, which are 2 actions we're going to be doing quite a bit today, at least in the flow part of our practice. And you might find it helpful to sit up on a folded blanket, a pillow, or block. If your knees are lifting uncomfortably away from the floor, so you can more easily drop them open. Shift around, feel your weight, spread it as evenly as you can through the 4 points at the bottom of your pelvis, like the pubic bone at the front, the tailbone at the back, the left and the right sitting bones. All right, here's a very succinct quote that you may have heard me repeat before by Austrian psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Mindfulness is just that. It is the practice of creating that space between what you're observing and how you respond to what you observe. It's so easy to get into the knee-jerk reaction of things, especially if we have past trauma or hurts that trigger us into emotional reactivity, or thoughts, narratives that are already being perpetuated, and all that's needed is to push a button and whew, that anger or that rage or whatever it might be. And maybe it's not even that intense, simply creating that pause between what is happening and how you interact or choose not to interact with what's happening is so liberating, because as Viktor Frankl says, there's our freedom. And I repeat this quote because it is really a huge part of why I personally meditate every day and in the evenings as well, because it's reminding me to take that pause. And it's such a way to reclaim your sense of choice. So we use the physical postures in yoga, the asanas, which are the 3rd limb of the 8 limbs of yoga by the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, to open up our bodies, really to work with our minds. As we let go of constriction, contractions, right? Sometimes through stress response in the mind, we can let energy flow more easily, and then we can prepare ourselves to sit and be more conscious of what's happening up here. And that's what we'll do today. We'll go through a specific meditation practicing equanimity, that balanced state of mind. So let's prepare with the body, use the breath to bridge the body, the mind, and then we'll sit in meditation. So as you're sitting still now, maybe close the eyes and start to scan your own physical body, noticing whatever sensations you're experiencing right now. And I invite you, as you're observing, to bring an attitude of befriending, which means a caring curiosity. Noticing what your physical state is as you're beginning your yoga practice. Now bring your attention to how your body is naturally breathing and sensing the qualities of the breath. Observe how you feel energetically. Bring your attention to your mind. How active is it right now? Does it feel pretty steady and focused, scattered, calm, present? And through these observations, notice how you feel mentally and emotionally. Now, what's one thing you can offer gratitude for before setting your intention? A way to uplift your vibration into a more content state rather than a state of lack. And so feeling into gratitude, now begin to clarify one thing you want to focus on today. Recharge in this hour so that as you step out of your practice, you can bring that with you. Maybe it's a quality, a feeling tone, or maybe something more specific that you're looking to shift in any area of your life. Mentally state your intention for your practice. And then a way that we let life flow without gripping or limiting the possibilities of how that intention will come about is to offer up our efforts. So I invite you to choose somebody that you care about, or a community or a cause, to maybe dedicate your practice to today. And together, as we hold space for ourselves and each other, let's create resonance by joining our voices to chant 3 ohms. Inhale deeply. Start to stream the breath evenly in and out through your nose, creating a sound like gentle ocean waves, practicing Ujjayi Pranayama. Slowing the breath down and balancing it. Let's make our way to the top of the mat, standing in a forward fold, separating your feet at least hips width apart and parallel to each other. And as you're folding over your legs, choose any variation of a forward fold, Uttanasana, that allows you to start to open up the back of your body. You might choose to open the front of the shoulders while you're here by interlacing the fingers behind your back or holding a strap between the hands as you stretch the arms forward. You might choose to sway the spine, maybe hold opposite elbows, shake out the head to loosen your neck. Keep cultivating an even, slow rhythm that you can listen to in your breath. We're going to start to move to the breath as we begin the vinyasa flow part of our practice. So bending the knees deeply, drop your head and arms, then inhale to roll your spine slowly upright, drawing the shoulders behind you and down. Join your palms to meet at your sternum in Padasana. Re-envision your intention for your practice. Bring that feeling tone into how you move your body to your breath. Surya Namaskar. Inhale, sweep your arms forward, roll your shoulders behind your ears and down. As you look up, gently back bend, coil the chest up. Exhaling, bow from your hips and feel free to bend the knees if that helps to lengthen the spine. Place your fingertips on the floor and inhale, step your left knee behind you to a kneeling lunge and look up. Holding your breath, step into your version of plank pose, legs straight or knees on the ground. As you exhale, lower your knees, then your chest, then your chin. This is a back bend as you stick your tailbone up. Inhale, slither your belly to the ground and coil your chest up lightly in cobra. Exhale, press the ground away and lift your pelvis back into downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot beside your left thumb. Lower your back knee and look up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and bow. Press down with your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms forward, coiling your chest up in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your palms at your heart center. One more, second side. Inhale again, Urdhva Hastasana. As you back bend, draw your tailbone towards your inner heels. Exhale, forward fold. Plant your fingertips. Inhale, step your right knee back to a kneeling lunge and look up. As you hold your breath, step into plank pose. Exhale, knees, chest and chin, Ashtangasana. Inhale, slide to the ground, root down the tops of your feet in Cobra. Exhale, tuck the toes, press up into Downward Facing Duck. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb, lower your back knee and look up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and bow. Inhale, root down to your feet and rise, dropping the shoulders, lifting your heart. Exhale, join your hands at your heart. Second series of Surya Namaskar. Inhale again, Urdhva Hastasana with a gentle back bend. Exhale, bow from your hips in Uttanasana. Press your hands on your shins, blocks or the floor, and inhale, lengthen the spine forward in Ardha Uttanasana. Step into plank pose, and as you exhale, glide forward, engaging the belly. Bend the elbows to hug your side ribs in Chaturanga. Then choose Cobra or Upward Facing Dog as you breathe in. Exhale to Downward Facing Dog. Let's spend about 5 breaths. If your body needs to move here, feel free to explore. Maybe pedaling your feet gently in place to loosen up your hamstrings and calves. Maybe shaking out the head to relax the neck. Listen to the quality of your breathing again. Using it to regulate your nervous system and to steady your mind. Finish one more cycle of breath. Then walk or lightly jump to the top of your mat. Forward fold Uttanasana. Press down with your hands and inhale, lengthen forward to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale again, fold Uttanasana. Rooting down, inhale, rise up. Find a gentle back bend in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands in Padasana. Let's take that sequence one more time. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Press down with your hands. Inhale, lengthen forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Step into plank or lightly jump to Chaturanga as you lower through your own vinyasa, including Cobra or Upward Dog. And this time, pausing in Downward Dog, where you hold still for 3 deep breaths, steadying your gaze on one spot. So though you're holding still, continue to invite space for energy to flow through your body. Broaden the shoulder blades, drop the head. Lift your sitting bones, root the heels down. When you finish your third exhalation, walk or lightly jump to the top of your mat. Uttanasana. Press with your hands. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands together, Padasana. Now bringing your feet together to touch, let's prepare for our last Surya Namaskars. Starting in chair pose, empty this breath. Bend your knees together. See if you can graze the ground with your fingertips, sitting that low as you inhale to raise the arms in Utkatasana. Then exhale, shift your weight forward and bow from your hips, Uttanasana. Inhale, press with your hands again, Ardha Uttanasana. Step to plank or float to Chaturanga. Insert your vinyasa here. When you arrive at Downward Dog, keep your hips leveled and inhale, raise your right leg back. As you exhale, step the right foot gently beside your right thumb, spin your back heel down. Facing forward, inhale, rise up to Warrior One. As you exhale, lower, continue on to your vinyasa. How is your breathing? From Downward Dog, keep your hips balanced and inhale, raise your left leg back. Exhale, softly step that foot beside your left thumb and drop your right heel. Inhale, rise into Virabhadrasana 1. Ride your exhale to Chaturanga Dandasana and finish your vinyasa here. Nice. Listen to the calmness of your breath and invite your body and mind to follow suit. Let's hold still in Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, for 3 breaths. These moments of stillness in asana is just like that pause between stimulus and response. We're priming ourselves for meditation. In fact, some of this can also be meditation. When you're done with a 3rd exhale, walk or float to the top. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Feet together, knees together. Maybe graze the ground with your fingertips. Inhale, sit low in Utkatasana. Exhale, rise up, Padasana. From here, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Raise your arms overhead. Exhale, Uttanasana. Separate your feet hips distance apart, parallel to each other. Plant your fingertips on blocks or the ground and inhale, lengthen your chest forward to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your left knee towards your nose. Lift the belly and contract it, round the back. As you inhale, like Warrior 3, straighten the left leg behind you, squaring your hips to the floor. As you exhale, step the ball of your left foot behind you, entering crescent lunge, lifting the arms overhead. Take a deep inhale in crescent pose, sinking your tailbone, lifting the frontal hip bones. Dropping your back heel, exhale, align right heel to arch of left foot, just like Warrior 2. But we're preparing for triangle, so straighten the legs, open your arms. Glide your pelvis sideways towards your rear wall. Reach your right hand horizontally forward as far as you can past your right knee before placing the hand on the right side of your right shin on a block or the floor. Rotate your right outer hip and glute underneath your body so that if you look at your right kneecap, it's pointing out towards your right pinky toe. Press that right big toe mound into the floor firmly and press the crease of your right hip back towards your left outer foot. Now feel your left outer foot and really root down into the earth with it as you lengthen forward to your left leg, up the tailbone, up the spine, out to your crown. Raising your left arm up, spin your chest slightly to face the sky while sealing in the bottom of your front ribs. How's the breath? Draw the shoulder blades down your back ribs and continue to expand your energy throughout your arms, up and down your spine and left leg, and throughout your right leg for 3 more breaths in Trikonasana. Rotating your left tricep, outer upper arm to face the left wall. Sweep the left arm overhead and get a little bit longer through the left side body, but look at your right foot. Inhale. Exhale your hands to the top of your mat and step the left foot to meet the right, forward fold. Separate your feet hips distance there. Press down with your hands. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your right knee towards your nose, contract your belly and round. Inhale, like Warrior 3, straighten the right leg parallel to the floor behind you. Reach your chest forward. Exhale, step the ball of your right foot to the ground, rising into crescent lunge. Inhale, drop your tailbone, lift your frontal hip bones. Exhale, spin your right heel down, align left heel to arch of right foot like you would in Warrior 2. Now let's prepare for triangle. Straighten your legs, open your arms. Glide your hips sideways towards your rear wall and reach your left hand past your left knee towards the front wall, placing that hand just to the left side of your left shin, where you could firm your left arm and your outer left leg against each other. to sort of close the circuit of stability while you're rotating your left outer hip under your body, left kneecap towards the pinky toe. Press the crease of your left hip back towards your right outer foot. Root down to your right outer foot and lengthen your torso forward towards your front wall. Spin your chest slightly to face the sky as you glide the shoulder blades down your back ribs and hug your front ribs towards your back. Steadying your gaze, tune into your breath for 3 more here. Trikonasana. Rotate your right tricep to face the right wall. Sweep that arm overhead for a little more side body stretch. Inhale, look at your left foot. Exhale, lower your hands to the top of your mat and step forward to folds. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. This time, grab a strap. Bring your hands to your hips, point your elbows to the sky, and inhale, lead with your chest to rise up. All right, we've started to open the hips. Let's play with balancing as we open the hips in hand to big toe pose. Optional to use the strap. So start in mountain pose with your hands on your hips. And use this leveling of the hips with both feet on the floor as a reference point for how it feels to keep the seesaw of left and right hips balanced. When we lift a leg, and notice that the hip will naturally want to hike up. So be conscious of keeping the hips level, dropping the sitting bone of the lifted leg towards the inner heel of the standing foot, and drawing your navel in and up. So let's start shifting your weight to your left foot. I'm going to mirror you here. As you steady your gaze on one spot, listen to your breath and establish the feeling of balance internally first. Bending your right knee in front of you, flex the foot and engage the muscles in the leg. Drop your right sitting bone towards your inner left heel and draw your navel inward and up. Keep standing tall. You could choose to keep your right knee bent in this pose and hold the outer knee with your right hand, or you could choose to some degree straighten the leg by placing the ball of the right foot into the strap, right arm inside of the right thigh, and kicking the foot forward as you pull the strap. You want to play with opposite forces, or you could clasp the big toe with your right peace finger, doing the same thing. Now notice when you're holding the strap of your big toe, this right shoulder might pull out of socket. You want to plug it back in and press it down. So just like the seesaw of your hips, you're balancing the seesaw of your shoulders right on top. Whatever degree of straight in the right leg doesn't matter as much as the spine staying vertically upright. How's the breath? Now let's externally rotate your right thigh bone at the hip. Turn out the right leg, then begin to abduct the right leg, which means move it away from your midline. Abduct the left arm as well, only to the degree that you can keep your shoulders balanced over your 2 balanced hips. And this is hand to big toe pose. Press into the ground with the 4 corners of your standing foot and lift that energy up the inseam of your left leg, up your spine, up your crown. Keep that equal and opposite force going of rooting to rise. Last few breaths here. This is called Utthita Hasta Parangushtasana. Slowly bring your right leg in front. We're going to keep playing with balance here, so stay with me. Bend your knees and wrap the right leg as much as you can over the left, eagle pose. Bend the elbows apart, cross the left elbow over the right. Either press the backs of the hands against each other or wrap your forearms and palms. Sitting lower can help to feel more grounded. Try to stack your elbows and knees down the center line of your body, softening your shoulders, softening your eyes. How is your breath? Garudasana. Last couple of breaths here. Now imagine what it feel like to be an eagle about to take flight. You're up on the peak of a mountain. So take a deep breath in, Then exhale, spread your wings. Maybe shake it out and let it go. Maybe shake out the standing foot after that. Notice how you feel. Maybe close the eyes a moment, check in what surfaced in your mind through that process of playing with balance. Were there any narratives that come up? Create now a pause, even though it's after the fact. So we can start sharpening that habit of pausing. So let's grab the strap if you're going to use it for side 2. Start a mountain pose with hands on your hips. Steady your breathing. Establish inner balance before we try to make the body follow. Steady your gaze. Shift your weight onto your right foot, and as you lift the left knee, flex the foot, drop the left sitting bone towards your inner right heel. Zipper up the navel. Choose to hold the outer knee, or use a strap around the foot, or clasp the big toe. If you're doing the latter two, play a little peaceful tug of war. Kick the foot away as you pull it towards you. Stack the shoulders over your 2 balanced hips and lengthen through the center line of your body. Now let's externally rotate the left thigh bone at the hip, turn it out before you abduct or move it away from the midline. Do the same with the right arm, abduction. Root into the ground with the 4 corners of your standing foot to rise up through each breath. Utthita Hasta Parangushtasana. Few more breaths here. All right, let's keep the balance play as you wrap your left leg as much as you can over the right, bending the knees, bend the elbows apart, and cross the right arm over the left. Eagle pose. Either press backs of the hands against each other or wrap your forearms and palms. Maybe sit a little lower as you stack your elbows and knees down your center line. Garudasana, last few breaths. Get ready to take flight. Deep inhale. Exhale, spread your wings. Maybe shake it out. Maybe dance it out. And take a moment to pause. What came up for you? Bring that attitude of befriending, which means letting go of judgment and just holding space for the full spectrum of what's coming up. And so we now enter our yin and restorative part of our practice. We're going to continue with a hip opening though. So take your choice as you come down to sit to set up for frog, which will really get into the inner thighs, or bound angle, which you might feel more in the outer hips. So let me show you what tends to be the milder of the two, and then you can choose which one. So bound angle, sitting on the ground or prop the pelvis on a pillow or blanket, bring the soles of your feet together. And for this variation, you can choose either to bring the heels up really close to your pelvis or far away. And notice as you play with it, they create different sensations. So feel into what your body's like this one. And then you'll set up a block or maybe a stack of blocks or a pillow, because we're gonna be here for 3 minutes. Yeah. And so that when you lean forward, you can actually rest your forehead on it and you're not trying to hold yourself up and adding tension here in the neck and shoulders and arms. That's option 1. Option 2 is to set up your mat thick enough to match a folded blanket so that there's space between the 2 islands, one for each knee. And we'll splay open the inner thighs, bending the knees at 90-degree angles where your hips are not in front or behind of the knees, but rather in line with the knees. And making sure your feet are turned out the same degree as your knees, because you're rotating from the hips. And then from here, you could rest on a pillow or be on your forearms, maybe put a block under the forehead. And it's a matter of breathing and being patient. So decide whether you're going to be in bound angle, sitting and folding, or frog, Mandukasana. So, and then I'm watching the time. 3 minutes. Here we go. So whatever variation you're in, check in if there's any tensing in the body that's unnecessary here. Notice if you're trying to do any work in this pose. See if there's any other props you might use so that you can lean into the support. And let's continue to use Ujjayi breathing here, offering a sense of calm to the mind body so the body can feel safe to open up. And I invite you to meditate on the sensations that are arising for you. Or maybe there's already sensations that have been there. And to watch them like you're watching thoughts, right? See how they might come and go, see how they might evolve or linger without judging them. Practicing befriending whatever sensations we're experiencing here. Creating a space between that which you're observing and how you're responding to it. Notice if there is tension arising in the body as a reaction to sensation. We're down to about 1 more minute. Give yourself 3 more slow breaths before you begin transitioning out of this pose. So if you are in bound angle, you would slowly lift up to sit and stretch the legs forward. If you were in frog, then I invite you to come into child's pose, where you start to bring the heels of your feet towards each other and sink your pelvis down to your feet as you bow forward. Making it a gradual transition out of the posture. Keep noticing whatever sensations are shifting around. And if you are in child's pose, when you're ready, start to lift your torso upright. From here, let's prepare for Supta Virasana. Remembering that hip openers does not only include turning out the thighs, but your hips are all around your hips include all around the hip sockets, so front and back as well. So this will get into the front of the hips. So start by sitting in your version of hero's pose and ask your knees especially how that needs to look like today. Whether you're going to sit with a blanket folded up, really thick to support the knees, right up against the backs of the knees like this, or you're going to prop up your pelvis on 1 or 2 blocks between your ankles. The higher, the less the knees bend. Or if you're going to sit on the calves, And if that already feels comfortable, you might use your thumbs and draw the calves from the top back so that you can widen the feet and sit on the ground below your between your ankles. Whatever variation, make sure that your feet are not turned out, nor are they turned in. You want to have your toes all pointed back so that your knees can be safely aligned. And keeping your knees on the ground, no wider apart than your hips distance, bring your awareness to your lower back. So think of lengthening the lower back as you begin to lean backwards, if you do, so that we can get a little more sensation if you need it in the fronts of your thighs, fronts of your hips. Think of drawing your tailbone downward and forward while slightly lifting your frontal hip bones towards your lowest front ribs. So we're doing that to prevent compressing and overarching the lower back. Now, as you're leaning back, you might even create something to lean on, like a recliner. An incline out of a pillow and a block underneath the farthest end of the pillow like this. Might feel comfy. Or 2 blocks like we do in supported heart opening poses like fish. An equal sign. One for right under the bottom tips of the shoulder blades and one for underneath the skull. Or some of you might prefer to lie flat on the ground on your back. Just again, be mindful to soften your bottom front ribs towards your pubic bone and to lengthen your tailbone towards the space between your knees, keeping your knees no wider than hips distance apart on the floor. So whatever variation you're in, if you're leaning back and feel supported, you could add, this opens up the psoas a bit more, raising your arms overhead and holding on to opposite elbows, then dropping the arms back. Now notice how your body's breathing, back to regulating with Ujjayi Pranayama. We have about 2 minutes here. So we did have a request today from our live community practicing with us to open up the chest and the front of the shoulders a bit. So if you have your arms overhead and you have something supporting under your back ribs, you can bring that heart opener into this pose. You might even visualizing breathing into the heart cavity, the whole region of the chest, and even behind your heart. Inviting space for energy to flow more freely. Now I invite you to listen to 3 more slow breaths before you begin to exit this posture. And gradually lifting your torso up, stretch both legs out in front of you as you sit upright. You may want to circle out your feet because that can also be a intense ankle stretch for the tops of your feet and fronts of your ankles. Maybe even shake out the legs. How's your breathing? Let's set up for a seated spinal twist after that. So step your right foot in front of your right hip or cross it outside of your left knee. Notice which enables you to sit upright with 2 hips balanced. You could also sit up on a folded blanket. You might also bend the left knee if you cross the foot out. Place the right hand behind your pelvis. Raise your left arm. Press into the ground with every part of your body that's touching the ground. And as you breathe in, imagine lifting the breath from the bottom of your spine through each vertebra to your crown. Relax the shoulders down. Then exhale, rotate your chest to the right and lower your left arm, either holding your right leg or eventually hooking your left elbow outside the thigh. Then keep pressing downward, rooting down to rise up with each inhale. Relax your belly as you exhale and see if your rib cage wants to turn a little more. Keep relaxing the shoulders. Lengthen up through the back of your skull. We're about halfway through this twist. Complete one more cycle of breath where you are, so that at the end of the exhale, you can unwind your spine, straighten your left leg in front of you. You may want to have a strap as we're about to come into half cow face pose. So you can place the strap around the ball of your left foot. Hug your right thigh on top of your left thigh so your thighs close together as much as possible. Maybe you're able to stack your knees. Root your sitting bones. Take hold of the strap with enough slack so that your shoulders can drop slightly behind the ears and down. Then as you press your pelvis down, breathe in and lift the front and the back of your spine. Kick into the strap with your left foot, press the big toe mound forward. And as you breathe out, imagine you're keeping a flat back with a little lift in the chest. Hinge forward just a little bit of your range from the hips. Breathe in, press down with the pelvis, lengthen the spine from it. Breathe out, maybe hinge forward a little more, hugging in your front ribs. Now keep going for several more breaths. If you're able to catch hold of the foot, you can hold that instead. Just making sure you're not closing off your throat by dropping the chin to your chest, nor adding more tension by shrugging the shoulders. Relax the shoulders, open space in your neck. So this is Ardha, which means half, Gomukhasana, cow face pose. Let's listen to 2 last breaths here. Press down to your hips, firm in the belly, and leading with your chest, breathe in to slowly rise up. Now let's set it for the twist. If you can, the same way as you did on the first side. Step the left foot either in front of your left hip or cross it outside of your right knee and or bend the right knee too. Place your left hand behind your pelvis, raise your right arm. Press into the ground with every part of your body touching it. Imagine breathing up your spine from the base. Exhale, turn your chest to the left and lower your right arm to hold your left leg, or eventually hook your elbow outside the thigh. Again, root down as you breathe in to rise up. Soften your belly. Exhale, rotating your rib cage. Sometimes in these spinal twists, that chin will want to jut forward. But can you, if that's happening to you, think of your chin as a drawer. Glide it softly towards the back of your throat, and then lift up through the back of your skull, realigning the crown of your head above your tailbone. Two more breaths. The end of the exhale, unwind your spine. Let's prepare for half cow face pose, straightening the right leg. You may like to use a strap around the ball of your right foot. Hug your left thigh on top of your right thigh as close together as you can. Kick into the strap with your right foot as you flex the foot. Press the big toe mound forward. Give yourself enough slack in the strap to be able to roll the shoulders back and down, and then plug your sitting bones down to inhale, lift up through the center of your spine. Relax your shoulders and lead with your heart like there's a string pulling your sternum towards your right pinky toe, breath by breath, exploring your range of motion here. In Ardha Gomukhasana. So you might already sense that here we're saying hello to the backs of the hips, among other things, like your right hamstring, your lower back, your glutes. Listen to a couple last breaths before you rise up. Inhaling to rise. All right, let's come on down to our backs. Just a little bit more of hip action. So come down to line your back and separate your feet wider apart than hips distance, maybe about mat width apart. Separate your knees as wide apart as your feet are and drop your knees to the right. Align your left knee to trace the midline of your mat here. So this is more of an open twist, focusing on the psoas, which is very deep muscle that crisscrosses through the fronts of the hips, behind the digestive organs, and then across the lower back. We talked about this quite a bit on Tuesday. If you're needing to feel more happening in the left side of your pelvis, pick up your right foot if you haven't already and cross that ankle just above your left knee. You could also do like we did earlier in supine hero and reach the arms overhead, holding opposite elbows. Let's stay for just about another minute. Slow, even breaths. Listen to one more cycle of breath here. Before you lift the knees and separate your feet on the ground again, wider than hips distance. Separate your knees just as wide apart as your feet and relax your arms. Then drop both knees to your left side. Point your right knee down the midline of your mat. Take a moment to observe the sensations here, especially around the right side of your pelvis. If there's plenty going on, stay here. Otherwise, pick up your left foot and place the ankle just above your right knee. And if you did so on the first side, raise the arms, but switch, hold the other elbow on top. And let's stay for about another minute. Long inhalation, deeply releasing exhalation. Soothing your mind with the sound of the ocean in your breath. Finish one more slow cycle of breath before you lift your knees again. And this time, draw your bent knees into your chest. Give yourself a hug. Maybe rock side to side or forward and back. Now, if you're still looking for a chest opening, I invite you to set up in some sort of supported back bend for Shavasana, which is coming next. Here are some options. Often we do 2 blocks, one behind the back of the head, tallest height, one behind, right under the bottom tips of the shoulder blades, medium height. Here are some other variations. If you have a big pillow, you can drape it across the mat and imagine that you're hanging off the edge of a bed by letting the shoulders drop and the chest lift. But depending on the thickness or the width of the pillow, it might feel like compression in the lower back. So you can also try rolling up a blanket into a nice thick burrito and using that instead of the pillow so that it's narrower and you can really aim it to land right underneath the bottom tips of your shoulder blades. And then you could use the pillow for lower back support, placing it across the backs of the knees like this, dropping the knees apart, and then lying back so the shoulders can cascade off whatever prop you're using under the shoulder blades. And then either bend the elbows apart like a cactus shape, walk the shoulders down the back, or wherever it's comfortable for you to relax your shoulders where they're not tensing up towards the ears. So as you're setting up for corpse pose, use whatever props you may need. Maybe you drape a blanket over you, or you cover your eyes with something that can help to relax. Invite a sense of symmetry along the left and right sides of your body. Then as you're eventually finding a suitable position, close your eyes and imagine taking a slow inhale, or doing so, but imagine filling up your whole body through all ends, holding the breath for a few seconds before you really take your time to ease it out through your mouth. And from there, release control of your breathing, but continue to sense the breath. Let go of all effort in the body, but continue to observe the body. Shavasana. Staying a little longer where you are, keeping your eyes closed. Bring loving awareness to what you're experiencing now in your body. Notice the effects of your yoga on your body. Gently begin to wake it up. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, stretch your arms, your legs. And maybe continue to close your eyes as you gradually roll over onto your right side, resting your head. Bring your attention back to the breath. Just let it be as it is. Notice if anything feels different energetically. As you feel ready, press your hands into the ground and slowly lift your torso upright, finding a way to sit for our guided meditation of about 10 minutes. Sit in a way that you can feel grounded, connected to what's supporting your body under in a balanced way. Invite your spine to be tall, so there's a sense of alertness and openness in the body, but also relax the body. Place your hands in a mudra. Just like the yoga postures, the gestures of the hands can promote certain feeling tones. One gesture to promote neutral mind is stacking the palms face up on your lap with thumb tips touching. As we practice equanimity, you might find that one helpful. If you're finding your mind is still very active, you can try grounding mudra, which is Gyan mudra. Thumb and first fingers touching, palms face down, with the thumb tips touching the creases of your knees. So choose a mudra or no mudra, and if it makes sense to you, close your eyes. If your eyes are open, steady a soft gaze on one spot. Let's begin. Resting your awareness on the sensations of the breath, allowing the breath to flow naturally. And any time during your meditation that you notice your attention wanders away from the present moment, let that be your opportunity to come back to the breath, which is only happening in the present. Do this as many times as you catch your attention wander. Do it kindly. No need to reprimand yourself or judge. Now, as I defined in the beginning, the word befriending is a mindfulness practice of cultivating an attitude of caring curiosity to whatever you're observing. Allowing space for the whole range of experiences, blissful to uncomfortable to difficult. So I'm going to invite you to an inner journey of visualization in which we practice befriending whatever we observe by creating a mindful pause between the stimulus and your response. I invite you now to visualize yourself in nature, in a forest, place where there are trees. Take a look around you and allow a moment to just feel, sense your environment. A peaceful space where you can feel welcome to sit down, pause, and just observe what's happening around you. Notice the colors of the trees. It's fall. There's a cool breeze passing through the branches. Listen to the sounds. Smell the air, the smell of autumn. Having some free time, I invite you to come to sit underneath one of these trees that's blessing you with so many leaves flying and floating around. And as you watch each leaf float by, notice how each has a different quality, a different color scheme. Even though the colors may be similar to each other, each leaf is very unique. Different shadows, different vein configurations. I invite you to cultivate an attitude of befriending whatever you observe falling from the branches by inserting this mantra each time you observe something new. And that simple mantra is, first you take a breath and say, isn't that interesting? That's all. Take a look at that leaf. It's about to fall on your head. See its colors, the shadows, the light. Let in a breath. Isn't that interesting? And continue as you observe the different leaves dancing around you. Isn't that interesting? No matter how lovely the leaf looks or how deteriorated it might look, notice how you can cultivate a feeling of neutrality and a caring curiosity to just allow it to be what it is. Isn't that interesting? Now, I invite you to tune inward and observe your own body. In this practice of visualizing the leaves and observing your environment, what's come up in your body sensations? What emotions may have arisen? What thoughts might have popped up? And whatever you observe, I invite you to practice the same Pause, deep breath. Isn't that interesting? Just like the different unique leaves falling from a tree, in the next couple of minutes, I invite you to continue observing what comes up in your mind. Where does your attention go? What comes up in your body? How do the sensations change? Anything that arises in your awareness, as soon as you notice it's arisen, pause, allow a breath, and say mentally, isn't that interesting? I invite you to this practice for the next 2 minutes. Now releasing the mantra and observing the effects of your meditation. Notice how you feel now mentally and emotionally. How might you practice bringing that space between stimulus and your response off the mat into whatever situations arise? Now, what's one thing you can offer gratitude for? And from that feeling of gratefulness, rename your intention, either out loud or mentally, the one you set for this practice. Then remember those that you dedicated this practice to. Picture them receiving benefit from your efforts. And to close, let's join in 3 ohms. Inhale deeply. Bow in towards your heart space. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.